The Filipino American Cancer Care now brings you On the Air with FACC, tributes and support to those impacted by cancer. On the Air with FACC, the Filipino American Cancer Care on PHLV Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Magandang gabi sa ating mga kababayan. To all our fellow men, Filipinos here in the United States and also in the Philippines, and to all our viewers, followers, donors, and supporters all over the world. My name is Josie Moralidad Zaiman from the Filipino American Cancer Care. And of course, here in Las Vegas, kasama natin yung ating station manager na si Johan. Good morning, Philippines. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this evening, we are honored and of course, we are happy that, we get to know a lot of people in the cancer community. She is also a cancer survivor, but she will tell us, more about herself tonight and introduce her cancer charity organization based in California. We have with us Colette, right? Wow.
Yes,
How do you
Colette
pronounce your
Huang.
Yeah, are you married to an Asian?
Yes, he's Vietnamese.
Oh, Vietnamese. Wow.
Yes. So we are very multicultural in this house.
Have you been to Vietnam?
No, we're going next year.
Oh, you're going next year.
We are.
Do you have kids?
We do. We have 3 little girls together, and then he basically adopted my 2 older ones.
Nice. You're gonna I'm sure your kids are very pretty.
Oh,
That
they're just amazing.
combination, huh?
Of course, I want to say they're adorable.
So did he grow up here or did he
He
grow
did
up here
not.
or
He immigrated here when I think he was about 2 years old. They had actually moved to Laos and they fled when I guess the war was happening. They fled to Laos, ended up fleeing Laos and ending up here in Kansas. And then he traveled out to California. Gosh, I've been with him 14 years. So about probably maybe 20 years ago.
Nice. Okay, so Colette, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, I'm Colette. I'm Colette Huang, a breast cancer survivor and nonprofit founder and founder and organizer. And I'm so excited to be here today. I appreciate you having me on your show, and I'm excited to get into it.
First, it's very intriguing. Just looking at your background, let's
Yes.
talk cancer.
Yes.
So why did you call your organization as, F Cancer?
So our organization is actually We Are Your Support, W.A.Y.S. We Are Your Support, but our podcast is Let's Talk Effing Cancer. And it just kind of came to me because a lot of times throughout your cancer journey, you hear F cancer, this, that, and the other. And we were kind of brainstorming what we could do. We had started an organization and we wanted to reach more people out there. And so we thought, what about a podcast? And what can we call it? I mean, let's talk effing cancer. So let's do it. Yeah. It was just kind of the thing behind screw cancer. We're not gonna let it defeat us. We're going to defeat it.
And there are so many young people nowadays that are affected by cancer.
Yes.
In this organization at the FACC, our youngest beneficiary just turned 2.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it's so sad, you know what I'm saying? But
It is.
you started with a podcast before you created your nonprofit?
We actually started with a nonprofit about 6 years ago, and the podcast has been going for about 1 year now.
So what inspired you to have a podcast? Because, I've been doing this. I feel like I've been being on the radio for such a long period of time.
Right.
And I think, having an audience, even just one person, you can make a difference, right?
Absolutely.
But to be able to maintain that podcast, it takes
Right.
a lot of effort
Right.
and
So
patience.
it does. It definitely does. And so what I noticed was during our journey through creating our organization was people wanted a voice and they wanted to tell their story. And they just wanted to share their experience, whether it was to educate others or to get it off their chest for their mental health, whatever it was, they wanted to share their story. And so that was our biggest thing, was giving that platform so others could share their experience and just, if not anything else, get it off their own chest. But while doing that, it could possibly help somebody else. And so we started with that. And then, of course, we've grown into bringing on professionals to give some advice and some tips. But we really like spotlighting the personal cancer stories because I think we all deserve to tell our story.
And everyone has a story to tell.
Absolutely. And they're so widely different that I think the more we share, the less we feel alone.
Now, before we continue to talk about your podcast and your cancer organization, let's talk about your cancer journey. Just like
Sure.
me, you're a cancer survivor, but I
Right.
learned from you that you are also a triple negative cancer survivor.
Right.
Not a lot of people know about that. They don't know
No.
anything.
And it's crazy because my husband and I had been in the medical world for many years when I
Mhm.
got diagnosed.
You're
And
a nurse, right?
we are, yes, and we're both critical care nurses. So we had been in the medical world for a very long time. Thought we knew enough, right? And so you get a cancer diagnosis, a breast cancer diagnosis, and you think breast cancer. It is breast cancer. And then they start throwing words at you that you are like, wait, what did that mean? And so suddenly I'm being told you're triple negative. You're progesterone, estrogen, and HER2 negative, which you want to be HER2 negative, but you don't want to be the other two negative. And because that means your cancer is not hormone receptive. So they didn't know what was driving my breast cancer. It wasn't hormones, which typically is the case. So I was being told these words that I'm going, what in the world? I'm a medical professional. I thought I knew this. And come to find out, we had no idea this world of cancer. And so, yes, I was triple negative, stage 2B. My tumor was 9 centimeters, but it was very small invasive at each end of the tumor was invasive. So a very small invasiveness. So even though it was such a large tumor, it was pretty well contained. So that's where my cancer journey began.
Mhm. By the way, if you don't mind, I know a lot of women don't want to be asked about their age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh. But
So
how
at
old
the
were you
time,
when you were diagnosed? And can you share, about the red flags?
absolutely. So at the time, I was a late stage mom. I was actually having my last baby. So I have had 5 daughters, and this was my very last daughter. And I got a lot of weird comments, which people don't realize what they're saying when they do. But it was like, oh, you're older and you're having a baby and can't,
But
breast
actually,
cancer's.
you don't look older to me.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
But at the time I was 40 and it was about 8 years ago. So I'm 48 now.
Mm-hmm.
I had my baby, and as I was breastfeeding her, I thought I had a clogged milk duct or mastitis or something like that. Nothing, concerning. It was just a lump in my breast, but my breasts were lumpy. I was breastfeeding. So weirdly enough, my nurse from my doctor, she got right on it. She felt uncomfortable from the beginning. And I thought, what's the big deal? Just send me an antibiotic. I'm sure it's mastitis, like no big deal. And she said, nope, we need an ultrasound. And I was like, well, what for? Like, this is just not a big deal. And luckily enough for that, she was very pushy and she was like, no, I want this checked out
Mm-hmm.
right now.
But think about it.
So,
Everyone is saying if you have a baby,
yes.
you are not actually at risk for breast cancer.
And it's
But
exactly and breastfeeding.
yes, breastfeeding.
Yes. And I was breastfeeding. I had my baby. She was 2 months old when I got diagnosed.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I was 40 years old with a 2-month-old baby.
That's really hard.
It was very, very hard because I had had 4 other daughters and was able to be the breastfeeding mom, do it all mom. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I was taken away from momming my new baby because I had to
And
go
this is
straight
your
into cancer
baby
treatment
with your
with my,
husband from,
yes.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So his mom actually came out and stayed with us for a year. She stayed
Hmm.
with us for a whole year and helped me raise that little baby while I went through treatment.
Yes, but still, you want to have that bond with your
Right.
baby.
And that was really hard. And that was something I had to work through after my cancer journey was regaining that bond with my baby.
Hmm. Now, well, I don't even know where to start
Right.
because there are so many stories to tell. Okay.
Yes.
You're a nurse. Usually, when you're a nurse, you
Yeah.
seem to be proactive when it comes to your health. But people don't really know that nurses, they work so hard. Did you ever
Right.
have that shift of 12 hours?
Oh, yes. That's all we worked was 12 hours. And so when it came down to our health, as long as we got some sleep, we were just pushing through. So we didn't take a lot of time for our own health and to pay attention. But I do have to say, at the time that I was diagnosed, I was probably my healthiest. I was at my lowest weight. I was working out all the time. And because I said to myself, I'm going to go into my 40s in my best shape ever. And I felt like I was. And then suddenly I get this horrendous diagnosis that I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I am in my best shape. I'm in my best health. I just had a baby. I'm breastfeeding. Like, aren't these all the things that we say?
Hmm.
Do these things to help prevent.
Hmm.
And here
And
I
you
am
were
with this.
taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
to be honest with you, a lot of people that are healthy, they get this cancer.
Right. Right. And I think that's the biggest misunderstanding, is especially when maybe you're going to see a doctor. If you appear healthy, young, you might get brushed off.
Hmm.
And for some strange reason, when I called that nurse to just complain, like, I think I have mastitis, I don't know what it was in her, but she said, no, this is not right. I'm getting you checked. And I was like, come on, give me a break. It's not a big deal. Cancer never crossed my mind.
Hmm. And she might be a blessing in
She
disguise.
was.
She
She
was your
was.
angel, huh? She
Absolutely.
saved your life.
She sure
Now,
did.
in your family, do you have like a history of cancer?
None. Zero.
Hmm.
No breast cancer, no cancer in my family. Cancer has not been a thing that has taken my family, that has overcome my family. My bonus dad, who is my stepdad, did just pass of cancer, but we're not blood related. And so it was a huge shock because cancer just what hadn't really touched my family in that way.
Hmm. So, what was it like for you when you found out that you had this cancer? And it's not just cancer, it's triple negative.
Right. When I first got the call, it was strange. I went into protective mode and I wanted to protect everybody. And I said, it's going to be fine. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine. You guys, no big deal. I got this. And it took a while for me to get the fact that maybe it wouldn't be fine. And maybe, things weren't as okay as I thought, but I definitely went into a fight or flight mode.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever had that attitude of, were you in that state of denial?
Yes, absolutely. I went into denial, I want to say pretty quickly, because I went into the fight mode, like, no, 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 everything's fine,
Hmm.
everything's good.
And
Like,
you're a
this isn't really,
fighter. Yeah.
yes, and this isn't really happening to me. And I think when it finally crushed down on me what was happening, it was dark. It was really hard and dark because I was terrified. I didn't know you know, what this really looked like. But
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was in denial for the first half of it.
Mm-hmm. When you were working as a nurse, was there a time that you experienced taking care of someone who had cancer?
Definitely many times, many times. And I always had the greatest compassion and love for the families and the patients. But now that I have experienced cancer, I think I would be a different kind of nurse.
Mhm. I'm just wondering, as we keep on talking about your cancer journey, you're a
Mhm.
nurse. What inspired you actually to become a nurse?
Actually, what inspired me to become a nurse was when I had my first children were twins. And my nurses were absolutely amazing. I fell in love with the job. I fell in love with what they were doing. I had so much respect for them. And so I pursued nursing right after I had my twins. And so I became a nurse and I thought I wanted to work with pediatrics or, mother baby, labor and delivery. And I learned really quickly that I loved the high pressure stress of the ICU.
Oh my gosh.
So that's
you
where
know,
I
I
spent all of my career.
I don't even like injections. A
Oh,
lot of Filipinos actually are nurses.
I know. Yes.
Do you have Filipino friends as
Oh,
nurses?
yes. A huge community here. Yes.
Oh, where is that? In California now, right?
Yes,
Or
we're
not
up.
anymore?
So the hospital that I worked in was in Roseville, California, and we have two large hospitals here that many, many of my friends are
Mhm.
Filipino.
Yeah, and that's why you're into Asians.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, so was it your husband who was the first person that, you confided, who was
Oh,
able to
yes.
know everything?
Absolutely. So he was standing right next to me when I got the call. And I just looked at him and I grabbed his arm and I said, it's cancer. And I just said, it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to be fine. And he just kept looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Why are you telling me it's going to be okay? But I was like, it's
Mhm.
fine. It's fine.
It's actually harder than them.
Yes. Yes. Because
How
they
would
don't
you
know what to
describe
do.
how would you describe that moment, knowing that he's also a nurse?
Um, it was scary because I know we think logically
Mm-hmm.
about what cancer can mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to know very detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does this mean? What is your treatment list looks like? What is the first question I asked my doctor was, what is my prognosis? And she said, are you kidding? Like, that's what you're asking me right now? And I said, absolutely. And she said, it's very good. And I said, okay, I just needed to know. Like, if it's not, like, let me get my ducks in a row. I need to
Mm-hmm.
figure this out. So him and I are very logical in what could this mean and what do I need to prepare for? So it was a scary moment to have to look at him and go, oh my gosh, we have to talk about that right now. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
in our 40, I'm 40. I shouldn't be talking
Mm-hmm.
about that.
You should be enjoying your life.
Right. And a brand new baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So did you see yourself like crying a lot alone or
No, I'm the type that I bottle it up.
uh-huh.
Been working on that in
But you're
therapy.
only human. You get hurt, right?
Yes. And I bottled it up. And so I don't want anyone else to worry. So I bottle it up and I surround myself with people so I'm not alone much because if I'm alone, I'll break down. So the whole time I was pretty much surrounded by my people and I was really never alone.
Mhm.
So I did not have my breakdown till the end.
Mhm. So a support group is very important.
Hugely important. I cannot stress how important because I did not want to go. I put it off and put it off and put it off. And one of my good friends that I was a nurse with got diagnosed about a month before me. And
Mm.
so we made a pact to go to a support group together. And that from that day forward, I have been friends with those women for 8 years now. And it was the best thing. They helped me through rebonding with my baby. I mean, that support group really saved me mentally.
Mhm. How are you able to tell your parents and of course the children?
Oh, so the children were first because they were all here. We were kind of waiting for the news all day. And at the time, my twins were, I believe they were 18, and my ooh, my little ones, I want to say were like 4, 3, and 2 months, or 5, 3, and 2 months. So my 5-year-old kind of understood. The 3-year-old didn't much, but the poor twins, I mean, they got it. They got the weight of what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they had just graduated high school, just started college, and they both were like, we got to quit college, we got to stay home, we got to take care of you. And my husband and I both were like, absolutely not. We want you to stay in school, you all be here. And they, now talking about it, they tell me stories about how they made plans with one another and how they decided, like, if mom passes, if she doesn't beat this, like, we'll do this and we'll stay here with, pops, they call him. We'll stay with pops, we'll help raise the girls. And my poor twins at 18 years old were deciding their future based on what my fate was. And I felt really, really sad for that they had to go through that. My
Mm-hmm.
little ones didn't quite understand it as much.
Yeah. So, what kind of treatment did you get?
I received pretty much the standard ACT, or is it ATC, ACT, adriamycin, cytotoxin, and Taxol. But I really pushed for carboplatin to be added to my Taxol because at the time, and I do believe it's more common and standard now, but at the time I had read that carboplatin was a good fighter against triple negative breast cancer. And since triple
Did you
negative
have
does,
chemotherapy?
yes, so that's the adriamycin, the cytotoxin, the Taxol, and the carboplatin. So I
Mm-hmm.
got 4 different chemotherapies.
4 sessions
No, I had about 3 months of chemotherapy, and it was all 4 of those drugs.
every 3 weeks.
Yes,
Did you have radiation?
I did. I had 33 radiation treatments. I had surgery after my chemo, and I had a double mastectomy, and then I had 33 rounds of radiation after that.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Some people they burn their skin from
Oh, yes.
radiation.
Mine was blistering and peeling. It was horrible.
Mhm. What were the biggest challenge you faced during your chemotherapy? And for example, how did you overcome it?
I think one of my biggest challenges was the limitations, whether it was physical, whether, I was feeling sick or tired, and the limitations on holding my baby, kissing my baby, doing all that right
Mhm.
after I had treatment. They told me,
Even
don't hold
using
her.
the bathroom, right?
We're using the bathroom, exactly. So I felt very isolated because, like you said, the bathroom, I had to be super careful and wipe everything down. And
Mhm.
you feel kind of like a monster in your own home. You're
Mhm.
like, everyone has to be protected from you. So I think
Yes.
that was one of the biggest things because, like I said, my baby was only 2 months old, and then I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And so I couldn't snuggle them and hold them for those first day or two after chemo. And that was the biggest challenge, I want to say. And overcoming that really did not happen until afterwards when I started to deal with the mental aspects of what happened afterwards.
Mhm. Gosh. What was there or were there specific moments or milestones that stand out in your memory? Like for example, during your treatment.
I think during my
Because you
treatment,
mentioned to me like, there's some form of course, it affects your mental health.
mental health, for me, the mental health really hit me at the end of chemotherapy because that was my first line of treatment. So as you're going through chemotherapy, you feel like, okay, I'm going in and I may not want to go get this poison put in my body, but I kind of also do because I know it's fighting the cancer. And when they tell you you're done, I was like, no, but the cancer's still here.
That's
I knew
right.
my tumor was still there. And so that was a really big block for me to understand, like, hold on, you can't be done with me yet. The cancer's still in here. I don't want to be done with chemo, but I'm supposed to celebrate this moment. So that was really hard. But the milestone, like, we were excited. Okay, she's done with chemo, but then I was terrified. So I wanted to get on to the next thing. So what was the next thing that was going to help save me? And when it came down to the end of radiation, I was completely dark and depressed because I knew the end of my treatments were going to be over. And I didn't know, especially with triple negative, you can't take a hormone blocker or anything like that afterwards. So when you're done, you're done. You don't have any follow up chemo, hormone blocker, anything like that. And I was terrified of that. So I got very dark and depressed because I felt like, well, now what? The cancer's just going to come back.
Mm-hmm. So how did you overcome that, state of mind that you were depressed? What did you
Yeah.
do?
Well, my mom was amazing. She was here during the end of my treatment and she said, honey, I know you're struggling mentally and I'm not going to let you just sit here and struggle. Call your doctor. We're going to go in and talk to him. So we talked to him and he said, absolutely, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to put you on some medication. And at that point, I was very okay with whatever he wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so he helped and he put me on an
So here's
antidepressant.
the
And
thing. During, the first time that you learned you had that cancer, it was
right.
like, I'm gonna fight. But
Yes.
then there's the reality.
Yes.
So you were hit with that moment that
And
this is it.
it took me about a year to get to that moment. It took me that year of treatment to really get to that moment where I went, oh my gosh, like there's nothing left to do. I'm done
Mhm,
fighting. Like the fighting is over, the
mhm.
chemo's done, the radiation is done, surgery's done.
And you can
And
control it.
right. And so that reality hits and the depression, bam, hit like a brick wall.
Mhm,
But I have to say, my doctor stepping in and helping me was tremendous. And but that was not all I needed. It helped a great deal. But I had to go into therapy and I ended up with a cancer coach, and she was absolutely amazing.
mhm. So you went through that psychological treatment as well.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
very important.
Yes.
And not a lot of people, can afford that.
No. And that's part of what our organization does is we realized during my treatment, we were like, well, what about therapy? And they said, if you are getting radiation, we will approve five sessions of therapy. And we thought, well, first of all, what does radiation have to do with it? Cancer is cancer, no matter what your treatment is.
And no
A
matter what
cancer
stages.
Right. A cancer diagnosis should warrant some therapy.
Mhm,
And 5 sessions, I knew that was not going to be enough for me. So that's
mhm.
part of what we do in our organization is we offer free therapy.
Yes. And we need to be educated.
Absolutely.
That's why we have all these radio show podcasts about cancer, because for me, that's the best way we can save someone's life.
Absolutely. And I don't think we haven't talked enough about the mental health of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that the mental health portion was part of our care plan.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the oncologist and they make a care plan for you, I wish that that was part of it because the mental
Yes,
health is going to happen.
that's right. And
Hmm.
you know what? Sometimes it also comes from the drugs.
Yes, absolutely.
I know how it feels. To be honest with you, some people, they develop people with cancer, they develop that bipolar disorder,
Sure.
manic disorder, and they don't talk about it. They don't even
No,
know they have
no.
that.
Right. Right. And it's sad because a lot of us will go to our oncologist saying, hey, I'm struggling. I'm having, well, go talk to your primary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, many primaries don't handle it well.
Yes.
I was lucky that mine did. And at the point where he said, okay, now I want you to see a psychiatrist
Mm-hmm.
because I was still struggling. But he followed me and he made sure, but not all doctors do that. And so I feel like if we made that part of a care plan from the initial diagnosis, that there is some kind of mental health portion to their care, we would be leaps and bounds ahead of where we are now.
Mhm. And also because there are things within ourselves that sometimes we just don't want to say it to our
Sure.
partner or to
Yes.
our immediate family.
Yeah,
And we need
absolutely.
someone to listen to us. We don't want
Right.
someone to say, na, 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 na.
Right. And sometimes, don't you feel like sometimes all I talk about is cancer? I mean, we do a
Mm.
podcast, we have organizations,
Yes.
but not only that, being cancer survivors, we have been talking about cancer since our diagnosis.
Oh, unbelievable.
And sometimes you don't want to talk to those same people again because you feel like they're probably sick of hearing me.
Mhm.
So you need someone that you can speak to. You need, whether it's a therapist, a counselor, psychiatrist, a best friend, somebody that you can talk to
Somebody who will listen to you and understand you.
and take you serious.
That's right. Mhm.
Right.
Oh gosh. So, how about, like for example, what was the positive outcome? Did you see any positive outcome at the time? Aside, of course, you went to that psychological treatment.
Yes, I did. I think after going, it's so crazy because I hear people say this, and I know people that have not had a cancer diagnosis will never understand this, but there is a blessing in surviving cancer. And it's not the same for everybody, but I we created this organization out of my cancer journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what fills my cup. It's what makes me happy and feel good about what we're doing and helping the community. And I went from being a bedside nurse to maybe not bedside nursing anymore, but I'm helping people in a different manner.
Mm-hmm.
And it
And you're not
really,
even paid.
I'm not even paid.
Think about it.
Exactly.
You have 5 children.
Yes.
You have a full-time job as a
Yeah.
nurse.
Yes.
And you have a family to take care. You have your health to take care. How
Right.
did you do all this stuff?
A lot of support. I had a great support system, and my husband, he's an amazing man. He works hard. He loves us hard. I mean, he is just a really good man, and he helped. If I did not have him, I could not have made it through any of
Mhm.
this.
Before you created, of course, if we don't have our husbands, we're not going to be
Right.
able to do it because every decision that we make now for ourselves, they're
Yes.
part of that. And if something
Right.
happens to us, who's going to pay our bills?
Right.
Who's going to give
Right.
us a lawyer? Who's going to give us
Yes.
a doctor? So I guess, having that supportive husband is very important.
Very.
So the first time you told him about this, what was his reaction?
Uh, man, he just started crying. He just, I could see the fear and the sadness that and he says this all the time, he wanted it to be him, not me. And he's just that kind of person that he didn't want me to have to go through this. He wanted to do this for me. And it broke his heart that he had to watch me go through it and he had no control over it.
Mhm. Colette, how would you describe yourself before the cancer diagnosis and after the cancer diagnosis?
Before the cancer diagnosis, I think I was just a normal woman living my life and taking things for granted, you know, truly not knowing what I had. And I may have appreciated the things in my life, but not to the degree I do now. After this cancer diagnosis, and especially reaching each milestone every year and having another clear scan and, getting further away from that diagnosis, I am just so flipping grateful for this life, this family. And I kind of take each moment way more serious, but in a lighthearted and fun way. I think I just soak it in more and I remember things and I'm in the moment versus just things happening around me.
Mhm. How did your relationship with your family and your friends, evolved during your cancer journey?
It's funny because everyone says you truly see who your true
Your
people
friends,
are
yeah, in your
in
lowest
those
point.
situations. Yes, at your
Uh-huh.
lowest point. And I had some of the most amazing friends and family be there for me and show up. But you know how that initial show up is?
Mhm.
Everyone kind of initially shows up,
That's right.
and then your journey's long,
Mhm.
and people don't always have the attention span for that long journey. And so you tend to see who fades off and who sticks around.
Mhm.
And to those people, I say, thank you so much. I love you dearly, because those relationships have grown leaps and bounds since then. The other ones haven't, they've kind of faded off, and that's okay. It's okay.
Mhm. Do you have a lot of friends before?
A lot of acquaintances.
Uh-huh.
And now I
No,
keep a tighter circle of actual friends.
that's right. You know the problem with me? Everybody is a friend. Nobody
Yes.
is acquaintance. I don't categorize them as
Right.
acquaintance, as a friend. Everybody's a friend, and my house
Right.
is open. Now I realize I can't do that. I
Yeah.
need to have boundary.
Yes. Because it's not always reciprocated, and it gets hurtful.
Yes. And once you have a cancer organization, you will find out who your true friends are.
Oh girl, I can't even. I can't even. Don't get me started there.
I know.
Yes, I know. And it's like we always say we don't expect our friends and family to support us and run our company, but we do expect them to be around every now and
That's
then.
right. And not just to criticize us,
Yeah.
but
And I
to
have to say,
understand and help us.
yes, yes. And I have my core people who will always be there, always show up at our functions, always donate, always support. And you have the ones that you're just shocked that are not showing up because you just knew they would.
Mhm.
And now I'm like, you don't care. Like that hurts.
So when you created your cancer organization, did you also ask your friends to join?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what I
I
did too.
Yes, I did. So my initial board was all friends, and that initial board was fantastic. I love them still dearly, and
Mhm.
not that I don't love any of our board members, but I do. I love everyone dearly. But that first board was great. They were just good friends that were helping me get something started. And people have lives and fall off, and we still have one of our original board members. But throughout the years, we've had others that proclaim to have this huge big interest and want to support, and then as the years go on they don't really want to do the work, they just kind of want to be sitting on a board, and I'm
The
like,
commitment
yeah. And
and
so
the
it gets
passion.
it gets a little defeating, and
And
when you see board members who especially were really good friends that no longer show up and support you,
mhm,
you're like, whoa, what the heck, because working on a nonprofit is hard. And when they do the work for free, they're not always thrilled with you at the end.
that's
And
right.
so I have to say to anyone out there who's thinking about joining a nonprofit, whether it's on a board or just volunteering, working for them in any manner, understand that it's a very hard job. You don't get paid much for, if anything, for it, but we have these organizations to help the community. We don't have these to get rich.
And you know what? It's a personal sacrifice.
It's a huge personal
And you
sacrifice.
know what I learned when we created this organization? If you have a friend, that's where you're going to find out who your real friends are. If
Thousand
you're going to
percent.
take their time, energy, even that money that doesn't go to your pocket, the
Yeah.
donation, you will find out because some of them, they will expect
Oh
something
yeah.
in return.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of our biggest things. We just had our fundraiser in September 7th, and someone was complaining about a gift they won. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's a TV. That is a TV and it's a charity, and you won something for free and you're complaining. Like, I don't understand what people think these charities are. Like, these charities, these local grassroots charities, we are really the ones doing the hard work. We're
Mhm,
not making tons of money. And so when you come to our function and you win a TV, they say thank you.
mhm. That's right. And
Yeah.
every little thing counts a lot. You know,
Yes.
in this organization, the FACC, I
Hmm.
always pay my own ticket.
Oh, yes.
You know why? I would tell them because every little thing counts a lot.
Every little thing. My staff was cracking up at me at the end of the night. I bought one of our bags and they said, "What are you buying that for? You own this stuff." And I said, "That's not mine. That's the company's. I personally am buying this bag because the bag is the company's and I want the company to do well.
Mhm.
Like I'm not just going to take stuff." So I don't know that people realize the personal sacrifice you put in and that you yourself are your own donors as well.
That's right. And you know
Mhm.
what? We don't even count the money that,
No,
comes
that
out
we
of our
put in.
pocket. But then
Nope.
people out there, they're like questioning, oh my
Yes.
gosh, what
Yes.
did she do? Where did it go? Yeah.
Right. Right. And I'm thinking if you only knew how much we personally sacrifice to, I mean, my tax accountant knows. But
Mhm.
aside from that, it's like we put a lot of sacrifice into this, a lot of money,
Mhm.
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And we're doing it for like literally the grassroots local people. We are getting
Yes.
on the ground and helping the locals,
Mhm.
where a lot of the big companies and stuff, they don't really see you, they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
reach they don't, and they cut their services. And so it's like, these local nonprofits, people really need to pay attention to.
That's right.
And of course there's ones that you have to be leery of, but really do your research and check us out and see the work that we're doing.
That's right. If you don't have a heart,
Hmm.
especially in terms of running a cancer organization, and
Right.
then you experience cancer, and now you're dealing with a lot of people with cancer, do you
Yeah.
think it's easy? Do you think
Right.
I want to be the president and, CEO of a cancer
Right.
charity? What
Right.
are we going to get here? Nothing.
Nothing.
But you
Yeah.
know who's going to be really thankful? People with cancer that are
Exactly.
benefiting. And the only thing that, w- uh, that we are grateful when they say thank you.
Yes. Yes. And that's all we need is a thank you. And, I think if we could get more support of the community, it would just be so much greater, because you hear of the big names, but they're not the ones doing the hard work.
Art, yes. And not only that, some of these, I'm not being condescending, but to be honest with you, the small organizations like us,
Hmm.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Yes.
work, a sacrifice, because the CEOs here,
Here.
again, we're not being paid.
No,
We
not a
don't
dime.
get bonuses to
No,
travel.
no. We pay our own everything.
Yes. And other big organizations, oh my gosh,
Right, right,
janitor. And here's the thing, running a cancer organization is not just about fundraising. There
right.
are so many paperworks.
Oh, I'm just coming off the heels of our event. I'm just finally breathing a sigh of
Oh,
relief from
I'm
all
not
the
breathing
paper.
yet.
I know you're not. I was thinking about you guys because just getting through ours is just a month before yours. And I can't tell you how happy I am. Ours is over. It was a great, great night. We had a great time, but my goodness, it is a lot of work.
Yes. Colette, right now I'm thinking already of taking my anti-anxiety pill. My muscle relaxant. I think that will help me.
Okay.
Because it's really hard work. When you say
Yes.
work, yes, this is a work, but I'm not
Yes.
paid and hard work. And some people are asking me, why do you keep on doing that?
That's
My
the
answer
thing.
is, who will do it then?
Right. And that's what I say. If I stop doing this, who will? There's nothing else in my area like us. So who will do it? And the patients that we have are so grateful. And we provide just basic necessities, food and transportation and therapy. And if we don't do that, there's nobody else in this area that's doing it.
Yes. And I think there is also a reason why we're put into
Mhm.
this situation. And I always say to people, many are called, but few are chosen. And this
Right.
is a labor of love.
It is a labor of love for sure.
A labor of sacrifice.
And it's like it's hard work. You get discouraged sometimes with the lack of
And you get
support.
dismayed.
You do. But when I get the thank yous and when I get the sigh of relief, I just had a wife the other day just burst into tears. She was so excited just because we were helping with transportation. And I was like, I'm just doing my job. I'm helping with transportation. She's like, you don't understand what this means to us. And it's like, whoa, that's why we're doing it, because it matters to these people. It really matters and it makes a difference for them.
Mhm. And sometimes you would say to yourself, my gosh, when am I gonna be done?
Yeah, I know. I tell my kids all the time, I'm passing the company on to them eventually so they can take it over.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Me, I'm always telling some of my members, like, how I wish one day I'm
Oh
gonna go
boy.
back to my normal life. All I
You
have to
can
do
take
is go
over.
shopping, play with my dog, and then
Right.
talk, and, enjoy my life. Although,
I
you
know.
can do this if you don't have the passion.
Right.
You don't love it.
You have to have the passion for it.
Yes. And some people might misconstrued or, misunderstood us for being passionate.
Right. Right.
They might think we're crazy.
Oh, I've been told that,
Oh,
especially
I've been
with
told
starting
that.
the nonprofit. What are you doing? And I'm like, I want to help. I notice the holes. I want to help.
Yeah. And not a lot of people nowadays would do that
No, no.
without, a
Some
reward.
kind of big payoff.
Oh, yes.
Hmm.
Because think about it. You're sharing your time,
Yes.
talent, money,
Yes. Yes.
and you're trying to sacrifice your family, yourself.
Right.
In my case, sometimes I could not even wash,
Yeah.
the dishes. And I
Yeah.
don't cook anymore because of
Right.
this.
Yeah.
How much more for you? You have 5 kids.
Oh gosh.
So, how has your perception of health and self care changed since your cancer experience and you have this cancer charity?
Right. So I think I've gone through phases. I think right after cancer, I freaked out and I said, no plastic in the house, no Teflon. So I got all new dishes, all new glass, everything, all vegetarian, everything. And I learned quickly that's not really me. And so I kept the glass, kept the non-Teflon stuff, but I started incorporating because I am a meat eater and I know that there are people with cancer who survive cancer that are anti, but I'm a meat eater and I'm not ashamed of it.
That's
And so
right.
yeah, and I had to find a healthy way to bring it back into my life. So I believe it's on our podcast on episode 4. I think it is Sarah Stratton. She's a cancer dietitian and she started giving some really, really great tips on just how to eat healthily for and meet you at where you are. So a lot of people say it's too expensive. I can't go all organic and this
It's
fresh
very
meat. This is
expensive.
very expensive. And so she taught me how to meet me where I'm at financially and even cooking abilities and this and that. And eat my meat, eat my vegetables. And she always says, look at your plate, look at your colorful plate. And if I can't get these certain vegetables tonight, grab the spices, grab those spices and put them in there, the fresh herbs, all these things. And so I really started looking at cooking differently as more of a medicinal type thing. And I enjoy cooking anyways. So I just looked at my food differently. So I went from the extreme of kind of cutting all meats out, and then I went back to my normal eating. And if I have a day where I have McDonald's, I don't beat myself up for it today. I would have 5 years ago, but today I don't, and I just do better next meal.
That's great. And you know
Yeah.
what? Do you eat a Vietnamese food?
All the time. It's amazing and it's so healthy.
That's right. The other day, I think, like whenever, I'm stressed because of
Uh-huh.
so many things that you have to accomplish for this fundraising event, I would
Yes.
go to the Vietnamese
Mm.
restaurant.
Oh, yes. Oh, get yourself a big bowl of pho and you are set.
Yes. So what were the most significant lessons you learned, about yourself during your cancer journey?
I think mainly some of the biggest things were to be more not just in my moments because I can be in the moment. I have a lot of kids and a lot of chaos going on, and I'm there, but I'm not really there. And so I've learned to really pay attention to my moments, see my kid and what they're doing, see my husband and what he's doing, and just soak it in. So I kind of try and soak in my moments a little bit more and be grateful. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. And I feel like being being a pleasant and thankful, grateful person makes other people a little more happy and grateful and thankful.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to exude my gratefulness for being still here today. And I
Mm-hmm.
try, and I have my bad days where I'm not so I'm not so great, but I
You're
I
only
just feel
human.
yes, and I feel like though if I just show my gratitude, on a regular basis, then it affects other people and can maybe change their day. And I just feel like all of that ties into the stresses of the world, the cancers of the world, all those things. And if we could just be better people and just be friendlier and stuff. So I've taken that away where before I just lived my life. I just did my thing, walked through the store, grabbed my stuff, went to the bank, did my stuff, not really paid attention. And
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like I'm paying attention to what's around me now. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
my biggest lesson is just to really soak in every moment and pay attention to what's going on and be kind and grateful.
You already did a lot, especially in terms of taking care of people as a
Right.
nurse.
Yeah.
Even though you're being paid as a nurse, you know what? That's actually the best job.
Right. And it's so crazy because I could go back to nursing today and make those big bucks. And I'm not gonna lie, I think about it all the time. I miss bedside care, but I'm getting older. So it's
Mhm.
not so fun. But I love so much what I'm doing. And when I talk to that client on the phone, that's like, thank you so much for just taking my call. Thank you for giving us this ride. Thank you for this bag of groceries, and it's just like, wow, knowing that I could help somebody just really, really, it really makes a difference.
Mhm. And lastly, Colette, what would you like to tell someone who has just been diagnosed with cancer?
Stay off the internet. Number one, stay off the internet
Mhm.
and find somebody to talk to. Find a support system and it needs to be outside of your immediate people because you're going to want to say things to them that you're not comfortable saying to your family. You're going to want to ask questions that you're not comfortable asking to your family. You're going to want to cry when you're not comfortable doing that with your family. So find that person that you can say the things to and ask the questions to and say those scary things like I'm afraid to die. You can't say that to many people, but you need to find someone you can say that to. So if it's a support group, do it there. If it's a best friend, if it's a coworker that you just struck up this great relationship with, find that person that you can say the hard things to because you're going to need that and it's really really important.
Mhm. And the world doesn't end because of cancer.
No, the world's going to it's not going to revolve around you. The world is going to keep spinning and you're going to feel like you're standing still. So just know that that will subside and you will join the world again, but you're going to feel stuck for a while. And that's okay. It's okay to take that time for yourself and just know that you will get back to that place once again. It just takes a moment.
Mhm. Colette, would you like to, ask everyone to follow your page,
Oh,
your cancer
yes,
charity, and how are
absolutely.
they going to be able to reach you?
Yes, if you are, especially if you're in the Northern California area, if you're looking for cancer support, you can find us at www.weareyoursupport.com. And you can find us on all the social medias at the We Are Your Support on Instagram, W.A.Y.S Inc. on Facebook, and on social media for the podcast, it's LTFC_podcast, or all of your podcasting platforms, the Let's Talk Fucking Cancer podcast.
Thank you so much, Colette Wang from California, for joining us this evening on our radio show, On the Air with FACC, Filipino American Cancer Care.
Thank you, Josie.
The Filipino American Cancer Care has just brought you On the Air with FACC, tributes and support to those impacted by cancer. On the Air with FACC, the Filipino American Cancer Care on PHLV Radio.